Picture this. You're anchored in a pristine bay somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. It's October, the rain is hammering down, and the wind is pushing 30 knots. Your spouse is down below making coffee while you're at the helm, monitoring the anchor. Now here's the million-dollar question that's been dividing the trawler community for decades. Are you sitting warm and dry behind the glass of a Pilothouse? Or are you huddled under a dripping bimini on a Flybridge wondering why you didn't head south this year? If you've been around trawlers long enough, you know this debate never really ends, and there's a good reason for that. After 40 years of arguing about it on every dock from Seattle to Singapore, we still haven't crowned a clear winner. But what if I told you that by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which configuration is right for your specific situation? Because the truth is, both camps are right, and both camps are wrong. It all depends on three critical factors that most people overlook. I've spent considerable time analyzing real-world experiences from hundreds of trawler owners, and what I discovered might surprise you. The choice between Flybridge and Pilothouse isn't really about the boat at all. It's about you, your cruising grounds, and how you actually live aboard. So let's dive into what really matters when you're choosing between these two philosophies of trawler design. Let's start with visibility and navigation because this is where the battle lines are first drawn. From a Flybridge, you're the king of your domain. Sitting 15 feet above the water, you can see that crab pot float a quarter mile away. You can spot the color change in the water that signals a reef. You can thread your way through a crowded anchorage because you can literally see over every other boat. One experienced captain told me he could spot logs and deadheads in British Columbia waters from his Flybridge that he would have hit from his lower helm. That elevated position isn't just convenient. It's a safety feature when you're navigating coastal waters with debris. But here's what the Flybridge enthusiasts don't always mention. When you're crossing the Gulf Stream at 2 in the morning, with spray coming over the bow and the wind trying to tear you off your seat, that panoramic view doesn't mean much if you can't keep your eyes open. This is where the Pilothouse shines. Behind those big windows, you're monitoring your instruments, checking your radar, sipping that coffee your spouse just brought up, all while staying completely dry and comfortable. The concentration you can maintain in a protected environment during a long passage is something you can't fully appreciate until you've done a 12-hour watch in driving rain. Now let's talk about something the brochures don't cover: single-handed docking. If you've ever tried to dock a 45-footer by yourself in a crosswind, you know every second counts. From a Pilothouse with side doors, you can step out, toss a line, and be back at the helm before the wind pushes you off. Try that from a Flybridge and you're climbing down a ladder while your boat drifts toward that pristine Hinckley in the next slip. One owner switched from a Grand Banks with Flybridge to a Nordhaven Pilothouse specifically because he could handle his boat alone more safely. But then again, when you're trying to squeeze into that last spot at the fuel dock, nothing beats the bird's eye view from a Flybridge. You can see both corners of your boat, judge the current, and place her exactly where you want. Here's where it gets really interesting: the Liveaboard lifestyle. Because living on a trawler isn't just about getting from point A to point B, it's about the 90% of the time you're not moving. A Flybridge isn't just a steering station, it's your back porch, your sunset cocktail lounge, your morning coffee spot with a 360-degree water view. I know couples who practically live on their Flybridge in the Bahamas, only going below to sleep and cook. They've got a full outdoor kitchen up there, loungers, even a hammock strung between the radar arch and the mast. Try hosting a sunset gathering for 6 friends in a Pilothouse, and you'll understand why Flybridge owners are so passionate about their outdoor living room. But let me paint a different picture. It's November in the San Juan Islands. You've been living aboard for 3 years and you're tired of the constant dampness. Your Pilothouse has become your sanctuary. It's bright, warm, and dry. Those wraparound windows give you the view without the exposure. You're reading a book in your pilot chair while the diesel heater purrs, watching the weather outside but not feeling it. Your friends with Flybridge boats? They haven't used their upper helm in 2 months. It's covered with a tarp that's collecting moss. Their lower helm takes up half the salon, so their main living space feels cramped compared to yours. This is the reality of live-aboard life in the Pacific Northwest, where the usable days for a Flybridge might be counted on your fingers. Now we need to address the elephant in the room: climate. And I'm not talking about just hot versus cold. I'm talking about how climate affects every single day of your life aboard. In the tropics, a Flybridge is almost mandatory for sanity. When it's 85 degrees with humidity to match, being trapped in a greenhouse Pilothouse, even with air conditioning blasting, feels like punishment. You want that trade wind in your face, that natural ventilation, that connection to the environment you came all this way to experience. But here's the catch. That same tropical sun that makes the Flybridge so appealing at 7 in the morning will drive you below by noon. Without serious sun protection, you're literally cooking yourself. I've seen people install full enclosures on their Flybridge, essentially creating a second pilot house, which defeats the entire purpose and costs a fortune. Conversely, if you're planning to cruise year-round from Alaska to Mexico like many West Coast cruisers do, a pilot house starts looking like the smart money. You can extend your season both ways, heading north earlier and staying later, because you're not weather dependent for basic navigation comfort. One couple told me their pilot house added 3 months to their annual cruising season. That's 3 months of anchorages you have to yourself because the fair weather fleet has gone home. Let's talk about some real boats and real experiences. Take the Nordhaven 46, a serious passage maker with a pilot house design. Owners rave about crossing oceans in comfort, but more than one has admitted they miss having an outdoor entertainment space at anchor. Then there's the DeFever 49 with its massive Flybridge. Perfect for the Bahamas, but owners in Seattle often confess they use it maybe 20 days a year. The Celine 45 tries to split the difference with a pilot house and a small boat deck above, but even that compromise has trade-offs in windage and stability. Here's something most reviews won't tell you: the maintenance factor. A Flybridge means duplicate electronics, duplicate controls, and everything exposed to the elements. Salt, sun, and weather age that equipment fast. One owner calculated he spent $3,000 more per year maintaining his Flybridge station than he would have with just a pilot house. But then again, the resale value of Flybridge trawlers in places like Florida and Southern California is consistently higher. The market wants what the market wants. Let's address the safety aspect nobody likes to talk about. As we age, and let's be honest, most of us in the trawler community aren't getting younger, those Flybridge ladders become more challenging. Climbing them in a seaway, at night, or with your hands full isn't just difficult, it's dangerous. I know of 3 serious ladder falls in my cruising community last year alone. A pilot house keeps everything on one level, but then again, that high vantage point of a Flybridge has prevented countless groundings and collisions. It's a safety trade-off with no clear winner. The social dynamics are fascinating too. Flybridge boats tend to attract more dock visitors, more sunset gatherings, more social interaction. It's like having a party deck that says, "Come on up." Pilot house boats tend to create a different dynamic, more intimate, more focused on the interior living. Neither is better, but they create very different liveaboard experiences. So here's the bottom line after all this analysis. If you're primarily coastal cruising in good weather zones, living aboard part-time, and value outdoor living space, a Flybridge trawler will likely make you happier. But if you're serious about year-round cruising, value comfort in all conditions, and prefer a true pilot house separation from your living quarters, then a pilot house is probably your answer. The sweet spot for many is actually a pilot house with a small Flybridge or boat deck, giving you options without compromise. But those boats are rare in the under 50-foot range and command premium prices. The most successful long-term cruisers I know have chosen their boat based on honest assessment of their actual cruising patterns, not their dreams. They've considered their age, their climate, their tolerance for weather, and their social style, because in the end, the best trawler isn't the one with the perfect design philosophy. It's the one that matches your life philosophy, and that's something only you can decide. The debate will rage on at dock parties for decades to come, but now you have the knowledge to make the right choice for your own adventure. The question isn't really whether Flybridge or pilot house is better. The question is, which one is better for you?